Hello and welcome to episode number 12 from In the World of Presentations podcast with 356 Labs. In the last few episodes, you heard a lot about design from each and every one of our designers. In one of the episodes, even they were all here together. However, today I have someone else from the team with me, and that's Iva. She is our project manager, and not only, maybe she will tell you what she is dealing with. However, she joined the company, and more or less I joined her to the company a year ago?
A year and a half ago.
A year and a half ago, and the secret is that we are actually together from
Probably more than 7 years,
Yeah.
almost 8.
And during the rehearsal, I was like 5 or 6, and she was like, no, 8. So we are together for a lot of time. In the first few years of the company, she was not working inside of the company, but she knew and saw almost every single moment. And so a few years later, I decided to join her in the company, and we were 3 people back then. I joined her and gave her the project management work, especially that part of the work. And very quickly, for 4 or 5 months later, we were 8.
Probably, yes.
Maybe, yeah, that was the case. So,
Yeah, so thank you for for the invitation. It's been quite a ride, let's say, being part of the company. But indeed, my main role, let's say, is a project manager, or more or less a project/account manager. So I work with all of our clients on many different topics. But also, as I like to say, I do a little bit of everything at 356 Labs. So yeah,
that's
there
true.
are plenty of stuff that I can talk about when it
Yeah.
comes to the company.
However, we decided to do something completely different today, right? We decided to kind of give a behind-the-scenes look to our listeners. What happens when a company decides to kind of talk with us and start a project with us, and we are talking about a presentation development, like a presentation project, not a presentation training, because we are spending a lot of time training people and various organizations from various industries. However, what happens and what a company should be prepared for, what are they going to go through when we work with them on a important for them presentation. So what's going on in there? Like, how, if a company decides to talk with us and work with us, or with any other presentation agency for that matter, what should they be considering, let's say?
Yeah, well, so first, I think that this kind of service is very new, not just for the markets that we operate in, meaning Bulgaria, but also countries in Europe. It looks like it's a very new service, so I would say that many people are not really sure what they need to know, how they need to approach a project from that perspective. So I definitely take it as a responsibility from our side to make sure that it's clear and that we lead them towards what they should be expecting and how the process could go.
Yeah.
So in general, many of the requests that we get are, for example, well, listen, guys, I have a presentation that we need to work on. It's for a very important event, for example, or it needs to sell our services to other companies. What is the process? Because I don't know where to start from. Do I need to send you, let's say, a draft of what I have? Do we need to have a kickoff meeting, or what do you want me to do?
Yeah, it's very often, I think, at least from what I see from the emails, because I try to not get involved whatsoever during that process, I see very often people asking, so we want to do it, but what should we do, more or less? Like, what's the process? What do you want us to do? They really are not that familiar with working with a presentation agency.
Yeah.
They may be familiar with social media type of agencies, digital agencies, accountants and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but presentations, no.
It's true, and also that sometimes leads to another part where they say you probably work as a marketing agency, so I just tell you what I have and then you do the rest of the work. However, in our case, it's definitely not like that, because when it comes to presentation development, it requires tons of collaboration between the client and us, and it's constant communication and questions, so many questions and answers that we afterwards use when it comes to developing not just the story but also the design of the presentation. So in general, what we do always is we have a meeting, whether it's going to be face-to-face or via Skype or Google Hangouts or whatever is convenient to the client, and we discuss the project as a brief, but that includes, like, as I already said, tons of questions when it comes to the content, the challenges, the audience, what type of event is it going to be, if it's a live presentation, if it's as we call it, a slide doc, who is going to receive it, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, okay, so what are like the typical, because obviously we cannot share each and every question that we kind of ask those clients and those people, but what are like a few of those questions that are for sure going to be asked during the initial meeting with the client?
Yeah, so the main and the most important question for us is what is the audience that is going to consume the presentation or the slide doc? The second one is what is the impact that you are trying to have with this
the goal
presentation? What would be your goal? So what do you want to achieve? Because people usually don't realize that the goal is the most important thing when it comes to developing a presentation material, because it can take your presentation not just from design but also from a story perspective to a totally different direction and level.
Yeah.
So these for me are the two most important questions that I always ask when it comes to starting a new presentation project.
And it's kind of shocking if you think about it, because this is actually the same thing that we advise companies and people who come to our trainings in the preparation courses, where we teach the kind of the methodology of how they should be approaching their own presentations. We do the same with them once we get in a meeting with them. So we apply it for ourselves, we apply it to our clients, and we also teach the same. So if you are like, wait a minute, we do the same in 3 different scenarios, obviously there's something behind it. Like if we are advising and using the same methodology for everything and for every type of scenario, maybe there's something behind the scenes. Right?
Yes, it's true. And in general, during those meetings, we spent, I would say, a significant amount of time talking exactly about the goal, the impact that we want to achieve, because it's very strange actually to most of our clients. We've had cases when we are discussing the whole presentation and the project for 2.5 hours, and they're like, we cannot believe that we haven't yet started doing the actual job and started working on the slides. So it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of collaboration from the client's perspective as well. We facilitate as much as possible the whole discussion. But yeah, it turns out to be very fun for them at the end, I would say, because they see how much it takes and how much they haven't thought that they can share and that can be useful for a project like this one.
Yeah, the problem I think with what we are seeing and what you are saying is that most of the people out there, no matter of their role and no matter of their industry, they consider presentations only from the design side. Like they think that we are going to work with them, and the only thing that needs to be done so that their presentation is successful and achieves the goal is, hey, let's have the PowerPoint ready.
Yep.
But it turns out that we have seen numerous times, and we worked with like a lot of clients where we said, wait a minute, presentations, as we like to say, have 3 components: story, design, delivery. They have to work in collaboration. And we have seen numerous times people say, hey, why don't you do that can you help us make this presentation look sexy? Which means...
Yeah, sexy is a very common word that we hear.
Yeah, which means can you make the design work? However, before we come to the design, it's that part, the story, that has to be clarified and figured out, which is where the goal and the audience come into not place, but come in. That knowledge of knowing the goal and the audience is crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that we've had projects where, for example, we've worked with executive people that are at executive roles, and with them, it's when it comes to the story, it's a bit more specific, I would say, because they have and this is something that I very much respect, and I'm not that type of person that would ask them to be someone who they are not, let's say. So they have specific stories that they want to share, so we design and we work around that. But usually when we have people that and clients that do not have any experience, we try to take the lead and to point them out and to like really coach them what would be successful in this specific case. That's why sometimes the discussions can take a few hours, and sometimes even days and weeks.
Yeah. By the way, maybe this is the perfect moment for us to mention that if you are an executive and you are listening to this podcast for some reason right now, and if you have an assistant and you are considering working with us or with a company like ours at some point, please make sure that you personally get involved in that project and not your assistant. And maybe now Iva will tell you why that's the case.
Yes, this is absolutely true, and thank you for bringing this up. In general, when it comes to presentations that are delivered live, I think there is one very important aspect. Presentations are very personal. And if you don't feel and don't think and don't believe in what you are going to say, it doesn't matter. So when it comes to presentations with executives, we've had in past times, we've had cases when we worked with people from the team of some executives that we worked with, and usually they start with, we know what he's going to say, we know what he wants to, he or she, or we had both cases, so we know what they're going to say, we know their stories, we know what kind of success stories, for example, they want to share, so on and so forth, and we work for a week, let's say, or a week and a half, and then we go and we present that to the specific executive, and then they say, that's not at all what I'm trying to say here. That's not even close. So this is actually a practice that we also are very much trying to embrace. If we have a request like this one, we always insist and we always speak from our experience to the requester that we need to involve the executive. And we need to involve them for an hour or two, or like a small amount of time, but we need to make sure that what we are doing is aligned with their needs and their beliefs and what they want to achieve with that presentation. Because it's a very, very different thing when it's being let's say talked by someone from their team, not just from them.
That is. We have seen it so many times.
And to be honest, if you're an executive and listening to this, it gets expensive. Yeah. It gets twice as much, let's say, or even more.
At least.
Or even more.
So get involved early as possible. Okay, so what about so once we figure out the story, do we have like typical questions that we ask in regards to the design? Because once we clarify the story, what the speaker or the people who are going to be on stage are going to say, then we throw that most of the times empty presentation with white slides and only notes inside of them to the design team. So what do we ask the clients? What should they prepare if they come to a meeting, or like what are the questions that they are going to receive from us in terms of design?
Well, the design is very specific also because it's not just the pretty pictures that we make, let's call it this way. The design needs also to support the story that we tell. So our design team, they work closely, and actually they work very closely with the clients, and also they participate in all kinds of calls, all kinds of meetings, just to make sure that they also can grasp the feeling and the whole experience that the client would be having with this presentation material that they have requested. So when it comes to design in general, we work with clients that have specific brand. I believe that you have already discussed that with the design team. We have clients that work with specific brand and they know what they want to achieve in terms of design perspective, but we also work with such that do not have like very strict rules when it comes to design, and they're very open to different types of decisions that we can propose and different types of ideas that we have. The most important thing at this point is what would be the software that we are going to use for that presentation, whether it's going to be PowerPoint. If it is PowerPoint, which version it is, because there is quite some difference when it comes to PowerPoint 2016 and above or Office 365. So we always need to test that to make sure that we have a lot of options and a lot of transitions and functionalities available. But we always ask for the software. If it's a Keynote, what can we do with Keynote, and if it's a Google Slides, of course, how we can manage it around that. Also, the other very important thing is we always ask them to have a look at specific presentations that, for example, we send them, or extracts of presentations only from design perspective, just to make sure and to see what are the things that they like, but also what are the things that they don't like. Because there are people that like, let's say, illustrations, and there are people that don't like illustrations, that they prefer, to have a more photo type of oriented presentation that has a lot of photos in it. So we have a separate discussion where we think about styles. We show them different visualizations that we've done. We show them visualizations that we use for inspiration, just to get their experience and their feeling on the design. And then, of course, what we do is we design a few slides. Let's say we design the first few slides of the presentation, and we're like, okay, let's discuss what we have up until now, so that you see where we are headed and whether you like it, or if you don't like it, to go again in a discussion and figure out what would be, let's say, if a new direction needs to come up, what would be it? And if we need to make some corrections, what would they be?
Yeah, and that means that we don't build the whole presentation immediately and send it over to them and they say, wait a minute, that's not exactly how we imagine it. We send like 3, 4, 5 slides, sometimes even 2 versions of those slides, so that
Correct.
we get a sense of them.
Yeah, to be honest, there are cases where, for example, our designers get very creative and they're like, we have 2 directions, we're not sure which one would you like. We recommend both of them. So let's see
which one will you be more comfortable with on stage.
Yeah.
So the design has to serve that purpose also.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
By the way, I heard you saying something we had a case with one of the very big banks here, where we saw like it was a visualization, like it was a chart.
Yeah.
And I heard you saying that we don't create design is just not pictures and beautiful
Correct.
pictures. And I remember the story where we saw, the first time at least I saw that presentation, I was completely confused by one of the charts. There was something wrong with that chart for sure. Then 3 or 4 months later, the new marketing director of this company came to us with a redesigned version of that presentation. So someone from Hungary or what was it, Poland? I don't know. Like they hired a company, someone from Hungary or Poland, to redesign that presentation with a broken chart. So I saw the redesigned chart again, and that chart was again broken. And I was like, it was broken because when I saw it, I was like, what is this chart actually saying? Let's see, that's your chart. It has been redesigned. Tell me, what is this chart actually saying? So I remember him staring at the chart, which was redesigned, so they paid for it. And he said, I really don't know. And I'm like, so now you understand that just making something look beautiful doesn't mean that it makes sense, that it helps your message. So that's really important, that the whole team actually in the company is working very closely, not only with the client, but also like tries and pushes really hard to support the message and make the message way more powerful.
Yes, absolutely. Data visualization is a whole nother story. We've had
completely different world.
Yeah, it's a completely different world. We've had presentations that are data only.
Yeah.
And Yeah, it's funny because when you start asking the client what this means, they're like, why are you
Wow.
asking me that? I mean, aren't you just supposed to make it
Beautiful.
sexy,
Yeah,
as
sexy.
they like to call it? But no, it's not. We've had cases where we've redesigned the charts so much and the data so much that the client cannot recognize the
For
previous
good, though.
yeah the previous format, and they're like, oh my god, you made it so much more clear. I can understand everything just by having a
Yeah.
a
Glimpse.
glimpse at it.
Glimpse.
So
Yeah.
it's a very important part from our side to be involved in the whole,
Yeah.
what does that mean, and what do we want to achieve with it.
And if there is a chart, the client should, actually, the person who is now listening, if they are going to work with, again, someone outside of their organization, or even with someone inside of their organization that has that experience, they have to make sure that the chart, that if we're talking about charts, they have to make sure that the chart is not a picture. It's very important for the person, people, group of people, team, whatever, to have the data behind that chart, because otherwise we cannot change just the picture, or we have to have the chart, as I like to say, to be alive, so that we can modify and tune it as much as we want. Okay, anything else? Last,
Absolutely.
like, it is almost what, like, more than 20 minutes of talk. So last advices or last tips and tricks or last things that we wanna advise clients, people outside that are aiming and just searching for or just considering working with someone to help them with their presentations. What should they be like preparing for?
So
Maybe they
it
should have
doesn't
patience also.
it doesn't require absolutely, it doesn't require that much of a preparation.
Yeah.
If we talk about preparation, it requires for them to be a bit more open, let's say, and
Willing.
willing to accept
Yeah,
that
that's well said.
it's different, and it doesn't always come to just design.
Yeah.
It's much more than that, and it will be, we can achieve a much better result with clients, who are, we trust you, that what you are doing brings results.
Yeah.
So we want to do it with your help. So let us know what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
We will tell you what we like and what we don't like,
Yeah.
but you should be the people that should lead the whole effort, because you know what you're doing.
Yeah, we have been in privileged position to not accept every project, because sometimes, and every client, because sometimes you can feel that people are like, I can do it myself, but we'll allow you to do it, which is a red flag immediately. If they
Absolutely.
say we can do it by ourselves, that's something that in our world is considered dangerous, kind of.
Yeah.
But if there is no mutual trust between between both sides,
Yeah.
it's never going to be
Absolutely.
best
And
project.
also, our approach when it comes to clients, I would say it's very, very, not very, but it is different to compare to other type of agencies, because we do not treat clients like clients.
Yeah.
We treat clients like friends.
Yeah.
And I think that's very noticeable
Yeah.
when it comes to working with
Yeah.
us, and it's immediately noticeable. We care about their challenges, we care about their business issues, or whatever is at their mind
Yeah.
right now. So we always also try to work around them, not to disrupt that much their days and their business days. So they see that we spent a lot of time and a lot of effort in that direction.
Yeah, we're on your side, guys. We
Yep.
are here to help. We're not here to kind of mess up your life. Trust us.
Absolutely.
And we have done it numerous times. Okay, so maybe last thing that we have to mention is that if anyone wants to find more about what we are doing, you can kind of find us almost
Everywhere.
everywhere. Like it is websites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, SoundCloud, obviously, Spotify, maybe.
Yes.
What else?
iTunes as well. So
iTunes as well. Like you can find us all over the place. So go check out what we are doing. We also have online courses on preparation. By the way, that's kind of interesting. We have a very interesting course on how to prepare a successful presentation, and the other one is on PowerPoint.
on
tips and tricks.
PowerPoint tips and tricks, that I would say that can completely change your life, because it gives you so much more freedom, and it saves you from doing a presentation for 4 hours to 30 minutes.
Sometimes seconds even.
Yeah.
Anyway, go check them out. The online courses are at academy.356labs.com. Everything else, just type in 356 labs and we're all over the place, obviously. Okay, so that's it for episode number 12. Hopefully you learned something new, and if you are planning to work with someone, be that someone inside of your company or outside of your company, make sure that you listen to that episode. Make sure that you take everything that you heard in that episode seriously, because for sure what you heard is going to kind of happen to you in one way or the other. So up until like episode number 13, and 13 is one of my favorite numbers, well, we'll see you around. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.